Okay. So it's all right with you if I take my little camera here
Yes.
and I videotape your testimonial to help me serve more people?
Fine.
Great. Just wanted to get that while I'm recording.
That's fine.
Kind of like you signing a little thing.
I know.
So, all right. What I want you to do is, well, while we're just talking, let's just talk about it. What's the nicest thing you could say? You know, how do you feel about the service I provided to you when I was helping your family?
When I originally put the house up for rent, I had put it in the LA Times and all that kind of stuff, and we weren't getting any potential renters. So you contacted me via phone, and we set up an appointment, and I hired you. I'm a realtor out in Chino Hills, which is 60 miles away, so a little hard to service a rental. So when I hired you, you managed to get it rented within a couple of weeks, so I was very happy. When those people moved out in a year, 2 years down the road, I said, why not call for us back? So I did, and you rented it again, and they were there for quite a few years.
Didn't I rent it 3 times for you? I think I'm not sure of that, but I think I
At least twice.
Twice, yeah, okay.
At least twice.
So let's say you were talking to all the landlords in my area. What would you tell them about me and my service?
I would say that he gives you your paperwork in a timely fashion, and he finds you a renter within probably 2 weeks tops. So you can't ask for better than that. The way I look at it, and all the paperwork is handled properly, which I would know how it's supposed to be, and the money was just like it was handled. It was perfect.
So you would say that my 29-day guarantee is not an exaggeration?
No.
So speak to that, if you will.
We had discussed the fact how long would it take to get it rented, and you felt that you should be able to rent it within 30 days. And I said, great, if you can get it rented, because I'd already tried for 30 days. I think it was more like 45. So, and you were local, which I liked the idea that you were local and you knew the area well. So that's what I did.
Great. Let's say you had a property in Vegas, now that I'm a real estate broker in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Would you trust me to handle a real estate transaction for you that's out of your area?
Yes, I would have no problem with that. And I don't
say
think
that.
I don't think you want this, but I just had one in Las Vegas this last year. And if I'd known where you were, I would have sent it to you, because I didn't really know anybody in Las Vegas. So I would have had no problem referring you those people.
So talk about it as a purchase transaction, be specific.
Oh, well, this was a listing.
Okay, but that's what I mean, but so that it's separate from rentals.
Okay, yeah, this was a listing, and if I have another listing now that we've hooked back up and I know where you're going to be and have your card, I have no problem in referring you a buyer or a seller, because I think you will take care of them, be honest with them, and show them properties that I know will fit their needs.
Great. I guess that's all. Is there anything else you can think of to say that might stroke my ego or whatever, however you want to say?
Well, no, I just wish you would keep in touch,
Okay.
which I'm sure you will.
I will from now on.
And I had the last time, which I just came up recently, I rented it, but I was thinking, I wish Bruce was in town. But I had looked for you before when the last tenant, hold on one second. Michael, can I call you back? Bye. Sorry, that was my son.
Say that again.
Let's see. The last time it came vacant, I was actually going to look you up, but someone walking by the sign ended up renting it. So I didn't look for you, but I would have definitely had that not happen to fall just in my lap. But
and so you're glad that we now have each other's contact information again.
Yeah, because I knew, well, I had looked you up on the internet and found out that you had moved. But you'd moved to Vegas, and I have no idea where in Vegas you were.
Okay.
So I really did look you up. And I'm going like, I wonder why I didn't say you moved to Vegas.
Well, what was happening is my father He just died
passed away.
in May of this last year.
Because I knew you were taking care of him.
Right, for about 3.5 years, that was my primary thing. And I still was doing rentals, but we moved to Vegas because my wife is a school teacher, and she got her teaching credential, and the next month, LAUSD laid off 2,000 teachers. So it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
And now they're hiring them all back.
Well,
They're hiring a ton of them.
Well, they have to because they have gazillion students. But so there was no jobs happening in LA for her.
Right.
And my in-laws had this house sitting there that had been vacant for 10 years in a nice gated community and the whole thing. And so they said, go live in our house. And we're basically, if I told you how little we're paying for rent, you know, we're not covering their cost even. Okay? So, you know, my mother-in-law is very generous. Not her husband, but she's the boss. So, and so, you know, we moved and I was taking care of my dad, and then, you know, because, you know, it became more and more full time, and then when he passed, I had to settle the estate, and actually I'm working on the taxes now for last year. And,
no, there's a lot of work in that.
Oh yeah, and oh my God, one of my brothers is an attorney, and he's a big dickhead. So, you know, okay, he lives 30 miles from my dad. Okay, the day when I realized that my dad had something wrong, his dementia was getting worse. Remember, I'm in the Valley. He's in Sacramento. My brother lives in Davis, 30 miles away. I'm 400 miles away, right? So I called my brother up and I say, look, can you swing by Dad's apartment and just check on him? I think his dementia's getting worse. Just check on him. I'll be going up there in a few days, but if you could do it today, I'd be really grateful for that. Didn't go by. Calls up our father. Says, Bruce thinks your dementia's getting bad and he's coming up here to take over your life.
Oh my God.
So the next day, I call him on the phone, and he says, oh, so you're going to take over my life, huh? You think my dementia's getting worse.
Oh, dear.
You know what I mean? It's which I ended up doing, you know. And he fought until the day I went and saw the doctor the day before, but then he went in with me to see his primary care physician, and she gave him a little dementia test, and came up demented, that she could diagnose it. And she says, I have to notify the Department of Motor Vehicles that you're not allowed to drive anymore. And I was afraid at that moment that he was going to get up and run out because he had the keys in his pocket. He wouldn't cough them up to me. Okay, he drove over there. He ran 2 stop signs. It's like less than 2 miles away. He ran 2 stop signs. And so when, you know, and it's like all the air went out of the balloon, and he let me take over at that point. But up until that moment, he was like, I can do it, like that.
Been there, done that.
So yeah. And I know a lot of people think this is odd what I'm about to say, but his passing was a blessing for him. The sooner it would have happened, the bigger of a blessing it would have been. Because, I mean, for about 2 years he had been pooping himself, you know, and at the end he couldn't even get out of the bed anymore. I mean,
Alzheimer's is not a friendly disease.
It's not Alzheimer's. It's a different kind of dementia, but he may also have had Alzheimer's. But he was diagnosed with vascular dementia. But I mean, the most communicative he could be in the last couple of weeks was like he'd take my hand and he'd go mwah, 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 like that, and that was like the height of it. And this is a guy who spoke 2 languages, world traveler, engineer. Couldn't do anything. It just stripped his humanity layer by layer by layer. It's a horrible disease, and I hope they cure that before too many of our generation gets there.
Oh yeah, no, I know, because my mother has it, so I know.
How old is she?
She's 80.
Okay. Well, he was 91 when he died.
She's been dealing with this since she was like 72.
Oh. Well, to be honest, he had it 25, 28 years before he died. He was always a very harsh and judgmental kind of guy, very critical. Like, he registered Republican when Ronald Reagan ran for governor the first time so he could vote against him twice. Okay? All right? You understand what I mean? He's a very critical, judgmental kind of guy. Nothing I ever did was good enough. Well, so, and then about 25, 26, 27 years, something like that, before he died, all of a sudden the edge came off his personality. He'd go, oh, hi, he'd let people say something without like that to it. And I think that that's because what he was having was these things, they call them TIAs, or mini strokes.
Yeah.
And he had many thousands of them in his life. And I think that one day one of them caught that part of his brain where the criticism was coming from, and it all just went.
Yeah, no, I've gone through that. My mother was not liked by her grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And so this last Christmas is the first time she's been to my son's house in 7 years.
And did you like her? Did you like her when you were a kid or a young
Let's
adult?
put it this way. My mother was never a fuzzy mother. I moved out 2 days after graduating from high school.
Yeah.
What do you think?
My mom. My mom.
I went to go live with my father, who I'd never lived with in my entire life.
See, my parents were married 55 years when my mom died, but my mom. Okay, one time when my son, who's now 24, was 2. Okay, I went up to Sacramento. I took him, and we're sitting there, visiting, and like we built and on this trip, he said the nicest thing that anyone ever said to me in my whole life. We made a puzzle that was age appropriate for him, of an adult and a child koala on a tree branch. Okay? So my mom says, oh, it's a baby and his mommy. And my son says, no, it's a baby and his daddy. Okay? So that's the nicest thing anyone ever said to me in my life, because at that moment, in his mind, parent meant me.
Right, right.
Not his mom. But, and so I just talked to him while I was driving down here today on the phone. And so on that trip, I went to my parents and I said, look, to my dad, I need you to be less critical, less judgmental of me. And to you, I need you to be more, and I couldn't come up with, I speak Spanish well enough to translate, okay? I couldn't come up with the word in English, which is very telling, because that's the only language I speak to my mother in, for affectionate. And I just couldn't, I had a block. I said it in Spanish, no problem, and I explained what it is, and finally we figured out the word that I was trying to say. I'm not a guy who usually has trouble with words. And she said, my mother wasn't affectionate to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know how to be affectionate. I said, well, I said, am I an affectionate father? She said, you're the most affectionate father I've ever seen. And I said, well, my mother wasn't affectionate to me either, but I made a choice.
Yeah, you have to.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, no, my words were, your maid is leaving.
Really?
I was Cinderella.
Really? Wow.
So, taking care of my mother, I'm an only child. There is no
Oh.
one. So, there is no one to call up and say, hey, will you help me?
Okay, well, I'm the one that my dad kicked out when I was 15. The brother that lived in Davis, is the one he sent through college and into law school. My brother stopped taking his money after one semester of law school because he kicked me out of the house, okay? Otherwise, my dad would have paid for him all the way through law school. He says, I'm not taking money from a man who'll treat his son that way. Now, I went and lived with him for 6 months, and then he kicked me out and got married. I was a drug addicted 15-year-old. I didn't know to shower. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I'm sure it was very difficult for him. Far beyond what he was ready for at 22 or 23, whatever he was, But, I don't know. I just, but of all of the children, all 3 of us, I'm the one that my mother asked me about 2 years before she died. She said, will you be our successor trustee? Mm-hmm. Now, I said, I was flattered, right? but all I visualized in that moment was they're dead. I sell all their crap and cut checks to everyone. That's all I had in my mind, right? I had no idea that I was going to have this job of taking care of my dad, who had never been all that nice to me, even in my adulthood. Even though, I'm the kind of guy that people could respect. And and so I went and I did it. And even though it was a big burden, I'm grateful for it because on this side of having done it, I'm a better me than I otherwise would be. If they had never offered me the job, if it never came to my attention that I should be taking care of my dad and now he's dead versus where I am now, okay? I'm in a way better place. I'm a member of NA. I'm a clean 29 years. In NA, one of the steps is we made amends, okay? My side of the street is as clean as a table. You know what I'm saying? And I did all that, and taking care of him helped me with that, and I see that as a good thing. So even though you may not perceive yourself as having a dirty side of the street, I would say the difficulty of it is minor in comparison to the change that can be affected in you. I'm sure you've heard of Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Okay. He died 2, 3, 4 years ago, something like that.
I saw him speak a few times.
Yeah, I saw him in Orange County one time. All right. I think in Anaheim. All right. One of the things he said that impacted me greatly in my life, he says, I've been wealthy and I've been broke. Okay?
I remember that.
He says, having $1 million is a wonderful thing. You can buy a house, you can buy health insurance, car, food, take care of your family. $1 million is great. But the most important thing about earning $1 million is not the $1 million. It's who you are on the other side of having earned $1 million is the kind of guy who can go earn $1 million. And they can come and take your $1 million away and you can go get another one. Okay. That's impacted me. And when you go and list and sell a property, when you whatever you do, whatever endeavor in life, if you support your church or etc., whatever you do in your life, the most important thing about it is not that. The money is not the most important thing about this listing, in my opinion. The most important thing in my opinion, about this listing is you're going to be a bigger man. You're going to be a bigger man on the other side of.
No, I think the way I've always done real estate is I think you should treat people how you would like to be treated. And as long as you remember that and do exactly that, I think you're going to find that your people will keep coming back to you, and they will continue to refer you to other people, and you will have a decent business.
Would you say that Bruce Roth does all that?
I think you do.
Okay.
And that's all anybody can do, is treat someone like they would like to be treated. And as long as you continue to do that, you're going to have referrals from other people, and then they're going to refer you, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And through my career, that's exactly what's happened. This is a referral from a client of 4 years ago. I sold 2 of her houses. So she's referred me to a friend of hers, and that's who I'm going to sell this house, and then she's going to buy another house from me. And she's only bought this 3.5 years ago, so I don't know what happened to her agent that sold her this. But that doesn't say much for that.
No,
agent.
but something like I think NAR says something like 13% of people said that they would use their agent again or something like that.
And I think that's sad. That's really sad, because what did you do or not do? Sometimes it's what you didn't do.
I think it's mostly what you
And
don't do.
I
You
think
throw it
that
in escrow and hope it closes.
Yeah, I think if you contact your people, no matter how long it takes, because I've been in this business when nothing sells, and I've been in this when things are like hotcakes, and you're lucky if you can even get a house for them. And the best thing you can do is keep in contact. Even if you have absolutely nothing to tell them, nothing's changed. but you're still remembering them. That, you know, I'm staying in touch with you because I've got your.
Here's your
on my
weekly
mind.
update.
Yeah.
No news.
Sorry, nothing's changed. The market's still the same, you know, blah, blah, blah. But they heard from you. And they remember that. Nothing's worse than the person that lists a house and you never hear from them. And I've been told that to my face.
When I listed your house or your mother's house,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that I was in contact with you enough?
Yes, I do. I have no complaints.
So say that as a whole sentence.
Oh, no, Bruce stayed in contact with me as much as I needed to be in contact with, which is I regularly heard from him at least once a week. Hey, somebody took a look at the house, whatever. But I heard from you. It wasn't like you disappeared, and that's the most important thing you can ask for.
Great.
You stayed in communication. That's number one in my book.
Rock and roll.